Hello everyone, you see me with my earphones because I will be watching The Handmaid's Tale Season 4, Season 6, Episode 4 preview for the next episode. And as I'm watching it, I will be breaking it down for you and analyzing it because it's so much fun. I usually don't watch previews, but I watched this one and I was like, yeah, I'm doing this. Also, Criminal Minds Season 18 is coming soon and I'm going to go completely bonkers over that. So expect this more often. Okay, the first thing we see is June returning to the safe house, and we see this old man waiting for her and some other people in the background. And the old man says, I should have told you that I was here fighting for Mayday. Who is this old man? Because that's not Luke's voice, right? Okay, no, maybe it is Luke's voice. Alright, moving on. This is definitely episode 4, and the next scene is Luke telling Jane... Who the hell is Jane? June and Moira that he will be delivering bombs to the sites in Gilead. He will be going back and he will be fighting back because it's his turn to fight. And Moira and June don't seem very convinced, but we know that eventually they do it because we see them as ants in Gilead and we even see June as a handmaid again. I'll get there. So this could be like the ending of episode 4 or beginning of episode 5 as they prepare to go inside Gilead again. But also, why is Luke picking the locations? Why is he picking the locations for the bombs? How is he qualified to pick the locations? Shouldn't this be like Mayday operatives, people who have been there and know exactly where these people are? Why is he picking the bombs, locations? And I mean, June even says, you don't know what you're doing, like you're gonna get yourself killed. And I mean, baby girl is not wrong. We see them fighting at the end of the season. We know they will be fighting. So then we see Commander Wharton is his name, Rose's dad, talking to Nick and being like, there was an alarming breach of security. And this is definitely going to be in the next episode. And this is about the 2 guards that Nick killed. One of them is completely dead. One of them is gone. And the other one is in a hospital, regaining consciousness. So he will be able to talk soon. And then we see Nick in the hospital. He's going to kill this man, but then this man has a woman by his side, so we don't know what's going to happen. And listen, I will mention this later in the video. We stop seeing Nick at some point, okay? We see him meet June, which will be soon enough on the TV show. But whenever all the fighting is going on, whenever June is inside Gilead masquerading herself as an ant or a handmaid, we don't see Nick, so something is going to happen. He's not going to be able to kill that man because that man has someone by his side at all times. He's going to have to return empty-handed. The man eventually is going to wake up and tell on Rick. Rick? Who the hell is Rick? Tell on Nick. I feel like this could be why he isn't there on the trailers, but also maybe he isn't there on the trailers because the show is purposefully kind of making us believe that something bad is going to happen to him. But I mean, what other kind of ending can Nick have except sacrificing himself for the resistance? Because the only person he actually cares about, the only thing he cares about is June. I will go over this Nick disappearance in a few later shots, but yeah, I don't think he's going to be around for the whole season. Something's going to happen to him. And I mean, the way that Commander Wharton talks to Nick, it really feels like he cares about him. It really feels like he's on his side. And more than that, it feels like Commander Wharton knows what Nick is doing, knows that Nick went there to save 2 members of the resistance of Mayday. It feels like Rose has been telling her father all along what Nick has been doing, that he gave them Fred, that he's been meeting with June. I feel like Commander Wharton knows. And another big theory about this season that everyone apparently has is that Commander Wharton is the big bad. And I see how that could be, but also that's what the show is kind of leading us to believe, right? By giving him such a center stage role in the beginning of the season, by presenting him as such a good guy in Gilead, which couldn't be possible. I feel like the show wants us to believe that he will turn bad, that he will betray Serena, that he will betray Nick. And I just don't think that's what's gonna happen, but I will touch on it later. Give me a second. We're getting to something important. So in a later shot, we see that Commander Lawrence, baby girl Lawrence, girl boss, gatekeep Lawrence, is being promoted. And I imagine this is going to be the next episode 4, which is called Promotion. And he's literally being promoted. And this is happening because now he's married, right? He's conforming to the traditional Gilead values, so he can be moved up the hierarchy. And he's being promoted to a high commander because he isn't one now, but Rose's dad is a high commander. A lot of the other high commanders, I think, are those people, those names that Luke and Moira went to get in Gilead, the names of the very extremist commanders, the very religious commanders, the very stern and like closed fist commanders, you know, the ones who want Gilead to be completely Gilead and no liberalism, no freedom, no nothing. And Lawrence is being promoted to one of them. And it's a farce. And when his new wife says, like, they're going to be expecting things of you, is of him to enforce these stricter moral values, these stricter policies. And he's like, I can handle it. But he won't be able to handle it. And we'll get there. But yeah, the man who is holding the sword and all these high commanders, these extremist commanders, I think are the actual big bad and big evil of this season. Because The Handmaid's Tale has never been about one evil, right? Fred is not the villain of The Handmaid's Tale. Is one part of an evil system. That's the villain of the story. It's the system established by all of these idiot people who keep everyone in line and keep everyone too afraid to rebel. You know, it's not one singular person. It's everyone who subjects themselves to it and have no way out. It's the system. This is why I think that making one person the big bad of the season would be just not authentic to the story, because the story is about a system, is about the patriarchy being the evil, and about how, because men are at the forefront of patriarchy, they can take advantage of it and make the world a lot easier for themselves and a lot harder for everyone else. So I don't think that Commander Wharton is the big bad. I think it's the guy with the sword, all the guys around him, and the system in itself. Because when we see the big fight, that's what they're fighting. They're not fighting Commander Wharton specifically. They are fighting everyone that promotes the system that is Gilead. And also, we have a shot, not in this trailer, but in the season trailer, where Serena, dressed in blue, in the same scene of a shot we will see in this episode that I will talk about, and the shot where she is in, we know from we know from the trailer of this episode that this shot is when Serena asks Commander Lawrence what is going on, and Commander Lawrence answers revolution. So she's wearing the same thing in the scene from the season trailer. And this is when she starts like screaming and getting angry, and she says, "You're just like the rest of them." And I feel like everyone has been like assuming that this means that she's talking to Commander Wharton after they get married, and Commander Wharton has kind of turned on Serena and made sure she goes back to being a Gilead wife instead of a Bethlehem wife. And that he turns out to be the big bad guy of the season. I feel like this is what everyone is assuming this is. Like Serena figuring out that he's not the good guy he pretended to be before they got married, but that he is in fact one of those high commanders who's very strict, very extremist. But I think she's talking to Commander Lawrence when she says this. I think she's talking to him, potentially also to Wharton, but I think it's to Commander Lawrence. And I don't think she means you're just like the rest of them in the way of you're just like the other high commanders. I think she means you're just like the rest of them, as in the revolt, as in the Mayday people, as in the rebels. I think that's what she means. And another thing to kind of confirm this theory of mine that Commander Wharton is part of the good guys or is in some way aligned with the resistance is this very subtle thing. In this trailer, the trailer for episode 4, there's a shot that I will go over where Commander Wharton is screaming something, and we don't see what it is, but we see what it is in the season trailer. She's screaming enough. And I'm pretty sure this is the scene where Serena is talking to Lawrence, and Lawrence is telling her there's a rebellion going, and Serena is telling him, you're just like the other rebels. I think this is the scene. Either this one or the one where Matt comes into his house or something like that. And something happened and he screams enough. This is how the trailer ends. It's the same way. Is with June saying it is enough of this shit. That's the last word we hear, enough. And the only other person we hear saying this is Commander Wharton. I think he's allied with the resistance. Or maybe not allied, but partial to them. Partial enough to know that Nick is helping them. I know this is a very delusional theory. I know no one thinks this is going to happen. I know, okay? I know that the most likely scenario is that he is aligned with the other high commanders and that he is in the list of the extremists. But I don't know. I can't explain it to you. My instinct is telling me that he is at least partial to the rebels. Then we see a scene of Moira and June dressed as ants. This is going to be way later in the season when they infiltrate Gilead again. And we see them running away from something and June is faced with a car. I think for sure this is Lawrence who finds her and she asks him for help because they're probably running from someone and they don't have anywhere to go. And I think this is where she finds Lawrence and where they later have a conversation when she is in his house. Then right around the midway point of the trailer, we see Janine. We see Janine talking to Aunt Lydia, and Aunt Lydia is like, I'm trying to get you out of here, girl. And baby girl says, there's no way out. And Lydia, there's no way out of Gilead. And this is probably episode 5, which is the episode titled Janine. And it's funny that she's in the same situation that Moira was in season 1. She's in the Jezebels, and she has the exact same sentiment that there's no reason to fight because there's no way to get out of there. And I mean, it's funny that we've only ever seen this kind of complete submission kind of sentiment in these two people who worked at the Jezebels. That really hurts my soul. Like, I know I'm going to be in pain in episode 5. Unless baby girl kind of breaks out. Or maybe episode 5 is when they actually go inside Gilead and they start rounding up their allies. And they go to Janine to get her back. Because we see her dressed as a handmaid later on to go to Serena's wedding. So maybe that's what Janine's episode is. Kind of like telling us how she's living now. Maybe she has some sort of network established at the Jezebels because she's framed as kind of the boss lady of it, you know? So I feel like maybe she has a network within the Jezebels and she's going to be one of the first people that June is going to get in contact with, and she will recruit her to do this mission at Serena's wedding, which I will get to because it's going to be so much fun. But yeah, that's Janine. Then we see June still before she enters Gilead, and she is in one of the safe houses of Mayday, probably, and she's watching someone make a bomb. This is for sure before they enter Gilead. Maybe it's at the end or somewhere within episode 4 or episode 5, and it's her seeing them prepare to go to Gilead, to go to plant these bombs, to kill these high commanders, these high extreme commanders. And then she's telling someone, are you sure you're ready to go back? And it's probably Moira, because we know they go back together. And then we even see some shots of them as ants, like transporting things and stuff. Maybe this is how they connect to Janine, you know, maybe they are ants, like working within the Jezebels and trading supplies within the Jezebels. And then we see this scene that it's Matt meeting with Lawrence and delivering him something. And this is going to kill me because why is Lawrence meeting with Matt? What happened to Nick? I was saying that he wasn't going to be able to kill the guard that survived because his wife, mother, whoever she is by his bedside table all the time. So something's going to happen to Nick. He's not going to be able to meet Mark, and he's going to have to send Lawrence, who is the only person he actually trusts in this entire bullshit. This is why we see Lawrence here getting a delivery from Mark, because something happened to Nick. Maybe he was hung on the wall. Maybe he's in prison being questioned, tortured, whatever. Something happened to Nick, and I'm afraid to know what it is. By the way, the same way that we don't see Nick, we also don't see Rose. And in my mind, I'm thinking, was this Commander Wharton? Was this Commander Wharton trying to protect his daughter, knowing that they would catch up onto Nick and that maybe that would have negative effects on Rose, and he smuggled both of them out of there? Is this when we see, is this them like going on the run in Canada? I don't think so. But why is Lawrence there? And then we see Rita going back to New Bethlehem, seeing goddamn Serena. And this has to be episode 4 or 5, because we know that Serena is still dressed in pink because she still hasn't married Commander Wharton. The marriage is going to take an episode, then she's going to be in blue for a couple of episodes. So this is midway through the season, Rita coming back. And it also has to be before June actually comes back because she needs contacts there. Then we see Serena's wedding stuff. As Lawrence is narrating, Serena clawed her way back to power. She's about to be the queen of Gilead. And I think that this is Lawrence talking to June after he picked her up as she's dressed as an aunt and like finds him in the car. I think this is him talking to her then and like telling her the updates of what's been happening in Gilead and New Bethlehem. So I think this is the trajectory, right? June and Moira get into Gilead dressed as aunts. The first contact they make is Janine in the Jezebels because it's the most accessible one. Then they, for some reason, get caught or whatever. They run away. They find Commander Lawrence. Commander Lawrence tells June, baby girl Serena is about to get married. June gets an idea. She's just connected with Janine. She's probably going to connect with, Rita as well. She's going to get dressed as a handmaid, reunite all her handmaids, all her friends, and they're going to go to this wedding, to Serena's wedding. They have the knives, and that's going to be the planned attack on the High Commanders because they're all going to be there because Serena is marrying the High of the High Commanders. And then we see the scene where Commander Wharton probably proposes to Serena because Serena is still dressed in pink, and they're talking together as if they're going to change the world, change the country. And Serena's like, yeah, God brought me back to save the country. And Commander Wharton is like, yeah, we'll save it together. We'll save it together. And that's probably when he proposes to her. And we see scenes of the marriage. We see the handmaids going into the church, and then we see what it looks like, the safe house, right outside of Gilead in no man's land. And we see a black car arriving, and it's probably Nick. And we see that scene of Nick in June where he says that she's the only good thing in his life. And we know this is early on because June is still in normal clothes. June still hasn't gone to Gilead. She's still probably waiting for the bombs to be made and the plans to be made. And she meets with Nick one last time. And I think that when Nick returns from this trip, something bad is going to happen to him. This is either episode 4 or 5. I would say episode 4, probably at the very end. And when he returns, they are going to get him. Something's going to happen to him because after this, we don't see Nick anymore. And then we see Aunt Lydia saying, June Osborne, as the handmaids in the wedding are passing knives. And Aunt Lydia kind of appears as an antagonist. It doesn't seem like she's going to unite with them. And we know from the testaments that she will be a force for the revolution in the future, but not now. We see June leading the handmaids somewhere. It's night. I feel like this is after the wedding, maybe after they try to kill everyone. And then we see Serena in that outfit that I mentioned before that we see in the trailer for season 6, where she's saying, you're just like the rest of them. It's the same outfit. And she's asking, what's happening? And that's the scene where Lawrence tells her, rebellion. Rebellion is happening. And then we see the scene with the nooses, the handmaids who attacked at the wedding and were caught are being hanged to die. Then we see a bunch of scenes of them fighting in the streets, and this looks like New Bethlehem, but maybe it isn't because there's no handmaids there. So I'm assuming these are the handmaids that were there for the wedding, because if this is happening in New Bethlehem, it makes sense why Commander Wharton is going to be upset, because if you actually wanted to support this project, then it's being ruined, because if the rebellion is happening in New Bethlehem, it's not happening in a place where it can harm Gilead. Not really, you know? But I was thinking, if the handmaids are there, no way this is New Bethlehem. But also, this could be the handmaids from the wedding, because the wedding probably is happening in New Bethlehem, right? So that's what I'm thinking. We see Luke with a gun, we see Rita fighting, and then we see the scream from Commander Wharton. And this is what I said I think it is. It's him saying enough, either to Serena as she's screaming about what's happening, or to Mark as he walks in, because that's what we see in the next shot. We see Mark with a bunch of military guys behind him, and I think he's in one of the houses, in one of the New Bethlehem or Gilead houses that he's taken over, and he's going to meet with someone. I feel like the glimpse we get of Commander Wharton screaming enough and the shot of Mark entering a house are going to be in the same scene, are going to be in the same place. Like, he's going to be confronted by Mark. And I don't know, I feel like this is going to backfire on the rebellion, because if they start the rebellion in New Bethlehem, and that's the city that they managed to take, or the town they managed to take, is it really going to be such an offense to Gilead? I'm sure it will start something, but I don't know. And as I've said, I think Commander Wharton is going to be on the side of the rebels, but maybe he is supporting what Nick is doing, and Mayday and the rebels don't have any idea about it. So when they go to arrest him, they think, oh, we've got a high commander. And then in the end, it's like, bro, I was with you. I was with you. Why are you arresting me? I don't know. Let's see. But yeah, overall, we can already see like the structure of the big events that are going to happen. And really the biggest mystery is within everyone's alliances. Like, who is everyone loyal to? Who is going to betray them? That is the biggest mystery. I think the biggest mystery is who Serena is talking to when she says you're just like the rest of them. Because I feel like everyone is betting that it is Commander Wharton, and she means that he's just like the other high commanders. But I'm betting the other way around. And I know there's a big chance I'm wrong. There's a big chance I'm wrong, but I hope I'm right. We need some hope. We need some hope. But anyway, guys, find me here during the next episode. I'll be reviewing and commenting everything and giving you my theories. Let's see what happens in episode 4. I kind of want to make a video about the fact that I think Commander Wharton is not the big bad. So let's see how it goes. And I'll see you tomorrow with Criminal Minds. Bye, guys.